Welcome to the Audiobook Lovin Series, a month-long event celebrating the authors and narrators that bring romance stories to life. Listen along as Viviana, Enchantress of Books, interviews your favorite writers and voices, share special guest posts, and stay tuned for some special information at the conclusion of the episode.
Today, I have the pleasure of chatting with guest narrator Jakobi Diem. Welcome to Audiobook Lovin, Jakobi. How are you doing today?
I am doing fantastic. Thank you for having me.
I appreciate you hanging out with me today and sharing, you with the world as far as we're listening. But why don't you start by letting us know a little bit about yourself, how long you've been narrating, and how you became a narrator?
I've been narrating about 10 to 15 years, but been doing romance for the past 5 or so. Enjoy it. Originally, I was actually based in Los Angeles. I originally started in New York City, moved to Los Angeles, and now I'm in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, recording out of my closet.
Hey, you gotta be resourceful, right?
Hey, you do what you have to do. And closets can be useful for a lot of different things, and recording is one of them.
Yeah, I didn't really ever think about having a closet for that particular reason. But hey, the shoes work well, the clothes, and stuff like that. But do you have that closet set up to do recording? Like, do you have it padded and stuff? Because I've seen some, on social media sometimes where like, I'm in the closet recording this book, and I'm going, how does that work?
It was actually a lot of work. I put up all types of sound dampening, padding, and sound foam, sound dampening foam, and I have a sound curtain, and it worked perfectly for what I was trying to do, actually. But it took a while, just making sure that the sound floor was correct, and you got ideal sound, so that when you sent that to publishers, that they were pleased. So it took a lot of work, but got it done, and thankful for it.
Yeah. So you converted the closet into your booth studio.
Yes, it is my baby. Yeah.
Good. Well, sometimes
no one enters.
Oh, okay. Well, sometimes we have that image of you recording a book next to your jeans and your shoes, and so when we hear, I'm working.
No clothes, no smelly socks. None of that. It's all professional grade foam.
Awesome, nice. So once you get cast for a book, how do you go about prepping it?
Well, first you have to read the book, of course. And I guess when I first get it, I go through the book and I highlight all the different characters to figure out, who I'm actually going to be voicing. Once I write those names down, I tend to get a mental picture in my mind of who that person is. It could be an uncle, could be a cousin, could be a character I've seen on television and forgotten exactly where I've seen them, but the voice is in my head. Or it could actually just be a feel. Once you start, reading the dialogue for a character, there's a rhythm. Everybody has a rhythm in how they speak, and really good authors are good at that. As far as you can tell the pacing and the rhythm for each character changes just a little bit. So a person may sit upright, a person may slouch in their posture, you may feel that person has a little bit more weight to them. That person may walk, on their tiptoes. But however you visualize that person in your head, it tends to translate, as far as how it comes out of your mouth. So, that's how I approach the characters. Now, female characters for me are always difficult because my voice is, so deep that I'm always dreading doing the female voices. I'm like, does this sound absolutely ridiculous? So so and then when I have to do all-nighters or get up early in the morning, I'm like, oh God, I can't do this Southern Belle at 6 o'clock in the morning. So that can definitely be a challenge.
Yeah. I think we love the deep and the raspy voices, but I can totally see where it'd be a bit of a concern or a challenge when it comes down to having to narrate the heroine, or any of the other female characters that
Right.
you
I don't
have
want to sound like Big Mama. Yeah.
yeah.
Right.
Well, I discovered you by listening to Kristen Ashley's series of the Rising, and
Okay.
you played make sure that I get the name right.
Aramis.
Aramis, thank you.
Yeah.
In there, but you also, because this is done it's an interesting way that they recorded it. Each of you, the narrators, have their own set of characters that they're voicing, but you end up voicing everybody else if they're in your chapter.
Right.
So you got to voice, the heroine that's matched with you, as well as some of the other ones, and you did a great job. Where I wasn't thinking like, oh, please speed up the speed or anything like that, because like skip. You did a phenomenal job with it, giving it just enough where we're going, oh yeah, that's the significant other that's talking. Cool.
Right.
So I think that's
Thank you.
important too. Oh yeah, come. I think that's important too, because especially with you and some of the other narrators that have that specific deeper voice where you can, it's Jakobi off the bat as soon as you say two syllables kind of thing. It's like, that's Jakobi, because the voice is so distinctive based on others. And so it's just one of those where I was like, yay, so you do good with the girls, the ladies voices.
I appreciate it.
Yeah. Otherwise I would not have listened to the rest of it. We all have our pet peeves, and when sometimes the male narrators do the female voices and they bust out with the California Girl Valley, which I know some people do sound like that, and I'm not making fun of them or anything like that, but that's not the go-to for it. So when I find
there are some times when you're, like I said, when you're starting at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning and your brain is on lazy mode and you're just like, and then that voice just pops in your head and you're going with it, and you're like, after about an hour, you're saying, oh God, I did not want to do this voice, but now I'm kind of married to it. Or else I have to go back. So that does happen sometimes. But I try to be mindful of it, and at least give it a couple, go rounds before I lay it down. So.
Yeah. Well, it's also, especially when you think that this is going to be a minor character, no big deal, and you're giving them this, because the description of the character is, this is the quirky best friend, or the guy that no one takes serious. So you're giving them that voice, 7 books later, he's now the hero, or she's the heroine. So you always got to kind of worry about that.
You've hit on something that really is a problem, because you'll start off in a book not knowing it's going to be a series, and you'll have there was one series where it starts off and there's like 7 brothers, and you're like, okay, they're all in one scene together. There's only so many different intonations and inflections and tones and rhythms and pacing that I can do with these characters. And so you're trying to do different things, and then you say, okay, wait, there's going to be 7 books for each brother. And so now you're going back, you're like, I can't do this whole book from this perspective with that voice. I'm sounding like Chris Tucker right here. I can't, that can't be a first person narrative. So it's those are times when I'm a little, oh gosh, I wish someone had told me there was going to be 7 books.
Yeah.
Yeah, that does happen. Yeah.
It does. Yeah. Well, here's it does. You continue, and you'll see that it happens as a trend when a author writes a book and they have to have brothers, whether it's 3 or 7, and or the best friend is popping in a lot here and there. Most likely, they're going to get books, whether it's part of the whole series or a spin-off and stuff like that. So that's something too, because the listeners and the readers love these characters that pop in that the author may not have even thought about creating a book for them, but we get curious and we're like, yay, so is so-and-so going to get a book? And they're going,
I've started to pick up on it when they start saying, okay, and his brother Daryl, who's also handsome and has a Mercedes and lives in Beverly Hills, along with his other brother Devon, who's a stockbroker and has his own private jet. I'm like, okay, we're doing books on these guys.
Yeah.
Because they all have 6-pack abs and, so we're definitely doing that.
Yeah, I always find that fascinating with romance. I remember my internships. It never went like that. I worked in offices. My bosses never looked like that.
Right.
So, which is why we listen to romance, because we like to escape into it. But it's always funny when it comes down to those. I'm like, I never had that opportunity. Come on.
And you called it an opportunity while you were an intern, huh? Look,
Yeah, I
man.
was like, hey. Well, even just to work sometimes, I'm going,
Right,
no, that's not what I was doing when I'm on internship. But
right.
again, it's an escape. The other thing too that we tend to really love as listeners are the accents. Do you have a favorite accent to perform?
Um, you know what? I think I do like to do the southern urban accent. That's fun for me. And it comes, I guess, a little bit. It comes natural for me, I guess, because my family is from down south, and I went to college, in the south, and so a lot of guys that I hung out with had that, and I always loved that accent. So it's like when I'm talking, like the guys from Houston, and like Big South, and "Let Me Love You" by Alexandria House, and when he's going there and he's talking to her, because then when he's talking and he's getting real romantic and sexy, it's just, it feels right. It's like a pocket. So, yeah, you know, but I kind of like trying to do anything, to be honest. I like the challenge of it all. So, whatever sounds right. And if it, I guess if I can relax into it, where I'm not feeling that it's work every time I start to do it, because there are some accents. I was doing a book uh, a week ago, and I had to play a the female character was Australian, and Australian is not an easy accent to master, because some people tend to go into a British thing, um, but it's not necessarily that. So when they're saying vice, they're saying voice, oi, and so I would get like notes like it's vice, not voice, and I'm like, no, that's how they say the I sound. Stop sending me these notes. But at the same time, it was like one of those accents where I had to keep stopping, after every line of dialogue, and it was hard to relax into it. Um, so when there's an accent that I know I'm in my pocket and I'm relaxed, and every time we go into that character, then those are the ones, to be honest. So yeah, I don't know if that was a roundabout way of answering the
Joe,
question.
you're good, good. In fact, you actually, the other thing I was going to ask about it being one of the hardest accents to perform. So you mentioned Australian being a hard one to
Yeah,
get into it. Are there any other ones?
I would say it Irish and Jamaican, because to me they're similar. Those accents are similar, just depending on voice placement. Um, I can tend to, when I'm doing Irish, start to sound Jamaican. So, I have to always be careful of that. So yeah, that one's, I can sometimes relax into the Irish and it doesn't sound like that. Um, but yeah, there are times when it kind of moves into that
Mm-hmm.
Jamaican accent. I'm like, oh wait, I'm
Rolling.
talking blood clots and not potatoes and, and shamrocks. Uh, so yeah,
Yeah. I never thought about the Irish and the Jamaican sounding similar, but now that you
yeah, there's some
mentioned it,
similarities there. Yeah.
yeah. I had a friend in high school that his family was from Jamaica. And so when he would get pissed off, the accent came out. And, or when we go over to the house, we're
Blood
going,
clot boy,
hey,
me not to
mom.
deal with that.
Yes, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And I'm like, ooh, and when his mom got going too, it was like, ooh, you in trouble. Because the accent got
Patois.
thicker. Yeah. And the accent got thicker. I'm
Yeah.
like, ooh, she pissed. And so now that I'm remembering, yeah, I can see where there's some moments where you're going,
Blonde,
oh,
but
okay, cool. Yeah, that is true. Also some fun memories too. That was always a fun house to go to and hang out with.
I
The
bet.
culture there was
And a great
great.
place to eat, I'm sure.
Oh God, yes. It's like part of, and my background is a lot of Sicilian, so the whole thing with food, and that's how you
Oh,
know you're loved. Their house
wow.
was very similar. They're like, "Have you eaten yet?" And I'm going, "No, but I know you're gonna feed me,"
Right.
because even if you
Right.
said yes, they were still gonna feed you.
Oh, and I would still eat. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I would never say no to that. That's for sure. And it was great. So in the 5 years that you've been narrating, usually with audiobooks, and now that they're very trendy and they continue to grow in population, they started kind of doing this whole thing where it was single narrated that did the entire book, and then they got into the dual narration. where now you have a female doing all the female chapters and the males doing all the male chapters, and now we have duet and also multicast. Do you have a preference in which style you narrate in? Have you gotten to narrate in all different styles yet, or not yet?
I've done all three actually. To be honest, I do like even though I know it's a pain in the ass for editors, the duets, because like I said, I'm not, a fan of my female characters. So I would much prefer, especially during the hot and steamy scenes, I just, having a full on female orgasm. I'm like, okay, my voice doesn't get that high, so
Yeah.
it can sound real Venus de Milo. I don't know if that's an old reference, Jim Carrey in Living Color. But so no, it's those are the one times where I'm like, oh man, I wish I could switch out and let female take over here and let her do these parts. And I'm pretty sure it's better for the listener, but like I said, I know that's probably a pain in the ass for the editors. So I understand why it doesn't happen as often. What is your preference as far as listening?
You know what? When the book has really great banter or really good conversation, whether it's a steamy scene, because those can always be kind of fun when there's narrative involved, and again, the good conversations or the arguments. I love it when it's duet because you all get to interrupt each other. It's almost like real, like almost watching a movie, or a TV show and kind of seeing it play out. And it helps too with keeping all the characters consistent because I'm big on consistency. Whether it's accents or tones and voices. And sometimes where I've realized that when there's two narrators doing dual, unfortunately, there's been instances where, especially
there's a lot of that.
The inconsistency is not there because sometimes they don't talk to each other, or there's been instances where the story takes place in New Orleans and the female narrator has decided to provide them with the accents because that's what the story says, but the male narrator, not so much. And you're going, damn it. I know you could do a good Cajun accent. Come on. You've done it before. But I personally love duets. And also even the multicast are getting to be bigger and better. Like I said, I had discovered you through The Rising. That to me was a little more difficult to get into because there was, first of all, the cast is so big. The volume is huge. There's lots of characters popping in and out in different scenes. But also the lack of consistency, because when I'm listening to your chapter, you having to play everybody else. I'm going, wait, who was that in the other chapter? Was that Stella Bloom or Greenfield or Lance Greenfield? And so, but once even that happened, after a few chapters, I want to say about the 50 mark, I was like sold, and I loved it. And that's also why I continued with it 4 books in. So that's definitely something for me, is the duets. Everything else is fine, but when I learned that it's duet, I'm going, yay, autobike. Especially when you guys are involved. I tend to buy more books based on the narrators nowadays anyways and the authors. You guys have become the rock stars. The authors, for a lot of places, but you guys totally make it or break the book too, because your performance is what's giving it to us from an ear perspective. So
and I think that's the trend as far as, and especially in this genre, as far as people writing their books to be, as far as with the Audible originals and writing their books, for audio, specifically for audio.
I
think that's going to continue to grow.
Yes, but I think it's smart of that, because if you end up knowing whether it's going to happen at the same time or you have to save the pennies, because audiobooks are expensive to produce but so worth it, that if the author has the mindset to write knowing that this is going to be done into an audiobook at one point or another, it's so much more beneficial for all involved, whether they adding more of the banter and the conversation versus being just more in the head and that inner voice thing that works out great, and stuff like that. And providing you guys more with clearance on the fact that he has a Russian accent in chapter 1 versus chapter 17. Just saying, little things like that,
Yeah. Oh yes, I've had some nightmares like that. Yeah.
Oh, that's the worst. I hear. like, oh no, or or providing them with a Russian accent, knowing that he's not Russian at all.
Right.
So yeah, yeah. So I think it's definitely something that people are starting to be more mindful as far as the authors goes. So that's also good too for you guys. Romance is a huge genre, not only in the in the from a dollar perspective because it is the biggest selling genre out there, but also the fact that it's almost like an umbrella term because we have so many subgenres underneath it, from PNR to contemporary to historicals and cowboys and firefighters and all that fun stuff. Do you have a favorite subgenre to perform?
Hmm. Hmm.
Huh.
Well, yeah, that's interesting. I think there's a series that I'm going to be doing later on this summer that revolves around the son of I don't want to say the name of the series, but it revolves around the son of Nat Turner, who was he rebelled as an enslaved African, um, and it's about his son and who he falls in love with, and I thought I think that's an amazing story because it's a love story, but there's it's historical fiction at the same time. So um, I was really intrigued by that. So yeah, I think that would be my favorite in that as a subgenre. Yeah, yeah.
Some of the historical part of things with
Yeah,
mixed in the
yeah,
romance. Yeah,
learning it at the same time,
yeah.
things, and then the details. The writers tend to be more detailed when it comes to the characters' relationship because they're already in the mindset of details as far as historical context. So it kind of bleeds over into everything. So yeah, so I think I tend to like. I mean, after reading this, yeah, that I think that would be my favorite. Um, and I also like I like some of the there was a series I did uh the prototype series by Jacinta Howard. Um I liked the music as a backdrop. I'm a huge High Fidelity fan, so uh her series where it's based on this music group, and it kind of each person had their own love story. I love that because I love music. I'm a huge music lover, and she was able to, especially when writers are able to bring that musicality to the dialogue, and you kind of feel like you're a part of a band.
Oh
So yeah,
yeah.
that was that was a cool.
It's always fascinating when authors write it. Yeah, it's about a rock star, and I'm going, but there was no band or anything about the music.
Right,
Anybody can
right,
pick up a guitar at that point, dude.
right,
I want to hear the dynamic
exactly.
of the band or watching them
Yeah.
in a concert kind of thing, or if they're recording
Like
in
the
a
romance
studio.
should come out of the circumstance, so the
Yeah.
circumstance should
Hmm.
be amplified.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Is there a genre that you have yet to narrate and that you'd want to
Mm.
narrate?
Man, I've done so many different things. You know what? I've even done a sci-fi uh, romance that had some BDSM in it. So I'm like, I've done I've done quite a bit. Now I haven't done a lot of those things, but there's uh, you know what? If you can name me some sub genres, and then I can say, have I done that? Have I done that? Have I
Yeah,
not?
so we have the like PNR, so paranormal romance, that can include anything from vampires to shifters to um, dragons and all
I
that
have
fun
not.
stuff.
I have not done that.
Okay.
Um, no. That sounds interesting. Yeah,
Oh yeah,
a vampire story would be amazing. Yes, I'd love to do that.
yeah. It's so creative now with the PNR side of things because it's usually when we think of shifters, we think automatically like wolves, but they've done
Right.
everything from dragons to bears. Oh my! And it's just really fun how they've done that. And then see what other genres. Of course, the historical are always classic, and then you do have the contemporary romance ones. So they also have urban fantasy is another one where it's usually the lead is the focus is on the heroine. So it's almost like a
Mhm.
paranormal sci-fi mix sometimes, but they've done a lot of different things where a lot of authors are starting to kind of blend some of these genres together. Danica Dark does a lot where it's PNR but urban fantasy mixed together. So that's always a fun one to get a little bit of everything. So yeah, I mean, nowadays it's almost like you also get to pick a trope, where okay, so it's a
Right.
shifter, but is it the best friend shifter? It's always those little tropes. Are they the neighbors and stuff like that? So there's a lot of
I mean
things still out there.
that definitely that sounds interesting. I'd definitely like to do that. And I know I haven't done
Cool.
that. So
That's
yeah.
good. Well, see now, authors are listening, and you're gonna have to write a sexy vampire that has a Jakobi tone to it. I'm sure someone will be like, done. Um, what is your favorite part of narrating romance?
Hmm. Actually, I do enjoy the sex scenes.
Hmm.
I mean, I do, especially when they're from the male perspective. I mean, there's not a whole lot of, you know, moaning from the female, so to speak, on my end as a narrator. Um, when, I like getting really intimate with the mic and, going down to that lower register and, imagining myself being there. And sometimes it's like, whoa, I gotta let me get up and let me walk around a little bit, throw some cold water on my face. Some of them get really intense, and
Yeah.
it's almost like I feel, we're as narrators, we're not supposed to do it, but sometimes I could fall in love with the sound of my own voice and some of those things, and I'm like, man, I'm turning me on.
Well, I think it's one of the things that we even think about that when it comes down to when it's done in dual or even solo, that you're having to kind of narrate both them,
Yeah,
yourself as the character that's talking as well as your partner in the scene. And you're going, technically you're with yourself.
right.
So,
Yeah, yeah.
but
It's the visual is crazy in those
hmm
moments. So, I mean, and a really good writer, they take you step by step, and so in those moments, it's like, okay, this is building, it's building, and you feel when it's good. It's just like sex when it's good, when the writer takes their time and hits the right note at the right moment, then then the payoff is nice. So yeah.
I think the scenes can be very, when it's done right, it can be very, and again, people tend to give romance the bad name or, give it crap because of the fact that people
Yeah.
think it's like, mommy porn or
Right.
it's, stuff like that. But the reality is, as human beings, we like sex and that's
Right.
okay,
Right.
and how we
Yeah.
like it is none about anybody's business, but
Right.
to be able to enjoy it, whether it's for the first time when we learn that there's a thing called kink, or it's the first time that we may want them to do this or that, and to be able to kind of go, hey, I learned it in a book, it's really cool.
Hmm.
you know
Oh yeah. And just like sex, I mean, there's good sex, there's bad sex. So there's good scenes, there's bad scenes. But there's still sex, and but that when you're doing something that's well done, and it's well done. I think for me, I know when it's well done is because, like I said, I'm getting up and I'm leaving the booth. So for a
need a
second,
yeah, need a
yeah,
break.
need a moment, yeah, need a moment.
Recollect. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So I mean, and that's the barometer for me, and because there's an art, it's at the end of the day, it's an art form, and just like the guy who's just trying to get in and get out, the authors who are trying to do the same. So when you have a really good one, then and especially when you have a female writer who understands a man's thinking, or a male writer who understands a female's thinking, then that those tend to be the best you know books. I guess the books that I enjoy, because a lot of times authors they don't understand the other sex's perspective, and they're writing full scenes and dialogue between nothing but the opposite sex, and they don't have a clue, and so those can be a little uncomfortable.
Yeah, I think the research is important, whether
Yeah.
it's trying to get into the head of the opposite sex, if you're again, if you're a female writer, into the guy's mental state, as well as if you're learning anything new, whether it's a position or a kink or location and things like that. It's always interesting to me where they bust out with, sex on the beach, and I'm going, ouch.
Yeah, exactly.
You
Exactly.
know?
Who really wants to
Really.
do that? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it sounds nice and romantic, but also there have been
Yeah.
instances where the tension is there, the buildup is there, and they happen to be walking on a beach. But then that's also where I'm going. It's a funny moment when they go, you know
Right.
what? How about we take it back over there? And I'm going, yes, yes,
Yeah.
someone's thinking. Um,
Yeah.
you know, um,
Exactly.
yeah, and those things are the ones that are important too. When it comes down to being thinking about like the safe sex, the fact that
Mm.
sometimes I know you get into the moments, but it's and sometimes the author thinks, well, you're killing the vibe if he's like, well, what about the condom? And I'm going,
Right.
yeah, but the reality is that you need it.
Hmm.
Unless you're writing up a surprise baby, but even then that could happen with a condom.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and that's part of the beauty of the moment, right? Because as
Yes.
guys, or you're trying to figure out how to address it in a sexy way. So
Hmm.
that becomes a part of the game. So yeah.
It's really funny. I think I was talking to another narrator. We were talking about the world that we currently live in regarding bringing that sexiness into the fact that as she's wearing her mask and she slides that off, you know he reaches into his wallet and gets the condom,
Right.
because that's a sign.
Right.
you know
Yeah.
you have been really busy lately, and I know that you're going to be getting even more busier because there's a bunch of books that are coming out that are still being announced, so those are always fun. When you're not working though, what do you do for fun?
Hmm. Man, at this point, I'm like, when am I not?
I started with that.
Right. Well, like right now, I'm, sitting here smoking a cigar, sipping on some Grand Marnier.
Nice.
So that's a nice time, nice thing to do with downtime. I'm watching a really good movie. Um, you know, uh, Trying to do some writing. Working on stuff that I've been working on for years, trying to add to it here and there when I can. Um, that's pretty much it. Yeah, if it's not watching a good movie, watching a good series. Um, yeah, that's me.
So you mentioned that you have a Grand Marnier there. Is there a special? Do you have a favorite drink or cocktail or?
Oh yeah, actually, my favorite drink in the world is one half Belle de Brillet and one half Douce cognac. That's my favorite drink in the world. uh, yeah, I couldn't find any yesterday, so I couldn't find the Belle de Brillet, so that's it's like a pear brandy mixed with the cognac.
Wow.
Just put that in the sifter, some ice
Hmm.
with an ice cube, um, a nice cigar. I'm good. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, I asked because I'm learning I want to get my palate a little bit more sophisticated when it comes down to drinks. Besides, the basic beers or the basic cocktails of margaritas, which I love a good margarita. But
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah.
but I also like to try to do other things and other mixes and matches that I normally wouldn't try. I did try bourbon, but that's like very, very alcohol.
Yeah. It
Yeah,
is.
it's very
And
strong.
I did actually discover I like bourbon too. So I mean I can't drink it that much. But yeah, I just discovered a great bourbon called Widow Jane. Oh man, it's amazing. So
Yeah.
yeah,
That's one of the brands I've heard. I know that I think there's Angel something is another one that's really
Angel
good.
Envy.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Angel Envy
yeah,
is another that's good. And then there's the one that's, oh my God, I think it starts with an M or something like that. It's from obviously from Kentucky. But
right.
yeah. But still, it's just I'm like, I smelled it for the first time. I'm like, dude, it smells like rubbing alcohol. How you all drink this? And that's exactly like even the romance as he's sitting there in his suit and he's drinking his bourbon, and I'm going, huh, okay. But that's also why I
Yeah,
realized there's such a small amount that you put in the glass.
yeah.
'Cause it's,
You're usually in your shorts with the bourbon. Yeah,
yeah, exactly. And you're relaxing. It's not how it's
right.
rated in the scene, but you know, it's also why it's a fantasy. But
For
yeah,
sure.
it's when I saw that when I first time I tried that, I was going, oh yeah, that's a lot. It's hard, but hey, everybody has their own different tastes. But dang, I'm gonna check that out that you shared that mix. I'm gonna see about getting some of that and trying it out, and then I'll let
You
you know
should
how it
definitely
goes.
try it. Yes. It's very smooth.
Yeah,
It's a chill drink.
it's a chill drink. Okay,
Yeah,
cool.
get a nice sifter. I mean, because it's not cheap though. When you buy both of them. But yeah, it's special occasion drink. So,
Hmm.
yeah,
Yeah, I've found that a lot of the stores like Total Wines sometimes will sell those small sample ones, almost like as if you're in a hotel bar kind of thing, or in the room. So I've tried to buy those first if available to try them out and stuff, because then I'm all for spending the money when it's worth it.
yeah,
But if I'm trying out for something for the first time, I'm going, oh, I'm gonna get the trial size and check it
yeah,
out. It's
for
almost
sure.
like having the Audible escape. I'm gonna try you first that way, and check
See
to
what
see
you're
if my
talking about.
yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
I check to see if my library has some Jakobi.
Uh,
If when I first discovered, and see what else was there. So that's said totally worth it after you find that something that you like. Totally worth it. I'm all
yeah.
for enjoying that way. Something I love to do with my guests towards the end of the episode is play a little game called Would You Rather. I find it
Okay.
fascinating. Either the answers, either how quickly they come, or how people will stop to think about it and then give me the reasons behind it, which I love. I really do. It's just a whole like talking to people that I love to do. So if you're
Okay.
good with it, we can play a couple of little questions here and there, and then go from there. Ready?
Let's do it.
Cool. Would you rather always be 10 minutes late or always 20 minutes early?
20 minutes early.
Would you rather know the history of every object you touch or be able to talk to animals?
Talk to animals, definitely. Yeah.
See, I knew I liked you. Would you rather be able to teleport anywhere or be able to read minds?
Teleport anywhere. Yeah. I would never want to know what's in somebody else's mind. I'm trying to
Yeah.
figure out what's in mine. So
Yeah, that's true. I'm like, filter that out. No, can't say this. Who am I talking to again? Okay, great. Yeah, can't say that
right.
either. Yeah. Would you rather never have to clean a bathroom again or never have to do dishes again?
Never have to clean a bathroom again.
Everybody says that. Everybody.
Yeah.
I think there's been one person that has not. I'll have to go back to them and say why.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Would you rather be able to control fire or water?
Hmm. Hmm. I think I'd rather be able to control. Wow, that's an interesting question. Because there's
So many good things to either one of them, right?
yeah,
What can you do?
fire you could save. I mean, either one you could save so many lives.
Yeah.
I would say if I can control all the water in the world, definitely water,
Hmm.
because then you can control fire.
Yeah.
Yeah.
True. Here's another good one. Would you rather be invisible or be fast?
Invisible.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, here's another one. Would you rather always be hot or always?
Hot.
Would you rather tell everyone what your guilty pleasures are or never partake in any of your guilty pleasures again?
Tell everyone what my guilty pleasures are. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, it's like I am not giving this up. Guess what we're doing?
Exactly. You
Yeah.
can join me if you'd like.
Yeah. Pull up a seat.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. All right, last one. Would you rather have a personal chef or a personal masseuse?
Oh, personal masseuse. Yes.
I
Yeah,
feel
I
you.
can cook for myself. I
Yeah.
can't. I can't get that spot in my lower back.
That's true. Yeah. I think a lot of people tend to do the chef because of the whole having to plan meals. I know for a fact that that's like the bane of my existence is meal planning. But you're right. I can easily cook and still do it if I want to. But I can't
Right.
get that spot in the back.
No, not
Yeah.
at all.
So before we go, what do you have coming out next and what are you recording next that you can share?
Let me see. What is it that I can share? I think I can share. Well, I can say. Well, yeah. A guy walks into my bar. Lauren Blakely. That's going to be coming out soon, so I can't announce that. So yeah, that'll be announced before this interview airs.
Yup.
There's also Shoe by Alexandria House, which is the third part in her Them Boys series. And I did Teach Me for Alexandria House. I think that's all I can share at this moment. I do have something coming. I'm not sure I can share it, but I'll just go. I can say the author, I guess, Sabrina Scales. So I have something coming from her. She did Naughty Nasty, and I enjoy her work. So yeah, I'm looking forward to how that. I'm looking forward to the rest of the books in that series. So yeah, she has a series coming out that I'm going to be working on with Wesley Siobhan. So yeah.
Cool.
So
Yep. And I'm sure we'll follow you on social media. So when you get to go, green light to share stuff, we'll be like, so what you doing next? We'll be there to go, okay, cool. So thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah, the guy walks into my bar is going to be a fun listen for sure. And I can't wait for her to announce the cast so I can talk about it.
All-star cast, right?
Yeah.
Everybody's in there, so I'm honored to be brought into the fold on that one. So,
yeah, no, it's a great story. I got to read it, and again, it's one of those things that when I read, I listen to you guys in my head saying the lines, and so it's so cool. That's definitely. I'm really excited for that story to come out, and I can't really wait for her to just share who's in it so I can start talking to people, because the community is so awesome. And so when you know there's going to be this great story or this great book coming out, you want to say, oh my God, you have to listen to this. But I can't do that because she hasn't announced it yet, but she's going to do it soon. So.
And have you read it, or you've read the whole thing, the finished?
Yeah, I did, because I got to fix the script for you guys to make sure that the narrators know what lines they're saying and when they're popping in and out of.
Okay. Right.
So yeah, but it's a great story, and I'm really excited for it as a whole. But I also love the fact that all these other narrators are partaking in it, and I'm really looking forward to the character you're voicing, which is Sam. To get his.
I just got some information yesterday, so
yeah. He'll be getting more later today when I send out the email. Oh yeah, you got homework. Yeah.
Get this one day off. Yeah.
Enjoy your day off. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, hey, it's like one of those things where you have to schedule to record. There's only so many hours in the day, and then when we're doing things across the entire country where people are on the East Coast and the Central Time and West Time, Pacific Time, it's just one of those we're going, okay, so how does Saturday look for you?
Yeah, at this time, especially because of the climate we're in, and I'm blessed because audiobooks are still chugging along, and just being able to record out of the home, gives you an advantage. So it's been really busy, but I'm not complaining at all.
Yeah. No, busy is good. Something that I keep reminding you guys is to make sure that you take a break, because we are working from home. We tend to forget that, oh, that's right, I could stop any minute now. I find myself doing emails like at 10 o'clock at night, and I'm like, oh, I've been working for 16 hours straight. But also when you enjoy what you're doing, you kind of forget that it's actually work.
Well, I'll tell you this too. It's what I also have to remember to not take on so much, because you can sometimes sacrifice quality, for quantity, and you're trying to meet these deadlines, and you're like, then there are those moments where like, okay, I just need to scan through and look at my character and look at the, and then you're like, oh God, this is hard now. So sometimes you gotta give yourself the space to be able to do the proper research, and I'm learning that. You don't do more than you should. Because at the end of the day, your name's on it.
That's true. That is true. And you want to do it justice for yourself as well as your client.
For the author. Yeah.
I want to thank you for being my guest for this year's Audiobook Lovin Series. This has been so much fun. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me. It really has been fun. Yeah.
Thank you. And definitely welcome back anytime you want to chat and talk. That's great. And everyone, thank you for hanging out with us today. Until next time, happy listenings.
Thank you for joining us in the Audiobook Lovin Series, hosted by Viviana, Enchantress of Books. We hope you have enjoyed this episode, as well as the series. We've included audio samples of our guests' work within the post for you to check out. Please make sure to visit the main page, link within the post, to learn more about the series, the authors, and the narrators. Please consider leaving a review wherever you listen to the series if you enjoyed today's episode. Make sure to follow us on our social media platforms and subscribe to the Viviana Enchantress of Books newsletter. Until next time, happy listening. Audiobook Lovin hopes you've enjoyed this program.